On August 9, 2022, St. Petersburg police broke into the apartment of Anastasia Grishman, a well-known influencer with 300,000 followers. After friends reported her missing, the scene inside left even seasoned investigators horrified. The apartment was in disarray, suitcases half-packed, and the decomposed body of the 26-year-old was found in the bathtub after more than a week. The perpetrator was no stranger. It was Dimmitri Kamlovski, her ex-boyfriend, who had secretly impersonated Anastasia's social media accounts to cover up his crime. This is the story of a girl who sought love and fame, but fell victim to someone who turned her dreams into a nightmare. Anastasia Grishman was born on February 7, 1996 in St. Petersburg, into a turbulent family environment. Her father, a heavy alcoholic, abandoned the family shortly after her birth, leaving her mother, Elena, to raise Anastasia alone in poverty. This created in Anastasia a deep yearning for love and acceptance, two things she never fully received from her family. Anastasia's childhood was spent in a cramped dormitory room on the outskirts of the city, where she shared a bed with her mother until she was 12, with no personal space, no financial stability, and, most importantly, no fatherly love. These circumstances shaped Anastasia with an intense need for attention and affection. Her mother, Elena, though loving, worked 2 jobs to make ends meet. This meant Anastasia was often left alone, fostering a profound sense of loneliness in the young girl. She learned to care for herself from an early age, but developed a fierce desire for attention and care from others. What's notable is that Anastasia did not resent her mother for their difficult circumstances. On the contrary, she understood that her mother was doing her best. However, this understanding could not fill the emotional void that a child needs from a family. In 2008, when Anastasia was 12, Elena decided to send her to live with her grandmother in the town of Kulpino. This was not an easy decision for Elena, but she recognized that her daughter needed a more stable environment to grow. For the first time in her life, Anastasia had her own room and her own bed. Her grandmother became the only family member who truly understood and loved Anastasia unconditionally. She not only provided material stability, but also gave her granddaughter the emotional support and love she had long craved. The bond between them grew deep, and her grandmother became the greatest source of emotional strength in Anastasia's life. However, when Elena remarried, she visited her daughter less frequently, only sending financial support from afar. Her new family and responsibilities meant she could no longer devote as much time to Anastasia as before. This left Anastasia feeling abandoned once again, creating a sense of emotional isolation, despite her grandmother's unconditional love. To cope with this pain, Anastasia began creating dark, expressive paintings that reflected her troubled inner world. These artworks were not only a way to express her emotions, but also a silent cry for help from a young, suffering soul. Her grandmother, with sensitivity and understanding, encouraged Anastasia to pursue art. She recognized that her granddaughter needed a way to process complex emotions, and art could be a healing outlet. This support became the foundation for Anastasia's artistic journey. Encouraged by her grandmother to develop her artistry, Anastasia found in it a way to express her emotions and personality. At 15, with her grandmother's approval and support, she began getting tattoos and piercings. Notably, Anastasia designed most of her tattoos herself, turning her body into a personal work of art. This decision was not without controversy in her extended family. Many relatives believed that getting tattoos at 15 was too early and could harm her future. However, her grandmother stood by her side, understanding that this was Anastasia's way of expressing herself and gaining control over her body and life. Anastasia became passionate about Korean culture, K-pop, and anime, which gave her a sense of connection to a larger community. In the virtual world of anime and K-pop, she found characters she could relate to and admire, characters who often overcame hardships and sought their true selves, which resonated deeply with her. She participated in comic conventions, cosplayed, and stood out with her bold, unique appearance. Her gothic anime style was not only a way to express her individuality, but also a means to attract the attention she had craved since childhood. Each time she cosplayed, she felt like she was transforming into a more perfect version of herself. During her high school years, Anastasia bought her first tattoo machine and began tattooing herself and others to earn money. This was not only a source of income, but also a way to showcase her talent and build confidence. Her skills became increasingly professional, and she started gaining regular clients at school. By the time she was 18, her body was nearly covered in tattoos, most of which she had created herself. Each tattoo held a special meaning, telling the story of a phase in her life or an emotion she wanted to preserve forever. She also added multiple piercings to her face and body, altered her lip shape, and used colored contact lenses to create a completely distinctive appearance. A lesser-known aspect of Anastasia's life was her struggle with a severe eating disorder in her youth. The lack of control in her life led her to try to control her body through extreme food restriction, resulting in alarming weight loss. Her grandmother, deeply worried, worked to help her overcome this difficult period. With love and patience, she helped Anastasia realize that harming herself was not a solution to her emotional struggles. After a period of treatment and psychological support, Anastasia stabilized and learned to have a healthier relationship with food and her body. However, she maintained a slender figure, which she saw as an advantage for cosplaying anime characters. Most importantly, she learned to maintain her weight healthily rather than through extreme restriction. After graduating high school, Anastasia made a surprising choice. She enrolled in a technical college to study automotive mechanics, a field rarely pursued by women. This decision showcased her intelligence and ambition. She wanted to prove that women could succeed in traditionally male-dominated fields. At the same time, she studied computer programming and web design, demonstrating her sharp intellect and adaptability. Learning multiple skills not only provided additional income, but also opened up future opportunities. During this time, she also worked at a local tattoo studio, where she could apply the tattooing skills she had honed. Her reputation in the local community grew, and she began attracting clients from other cities for her tattoos. At 16, Anastasia created her first social media account and began sharing personal photos, artwork, and tattoo designs. Initially, she only wanted to share her passion with like-minded people, but her unique gothic anime style and emotional personal story attracted a significant following. She unintentionally built a fan community of people who loved anime, tattoos, and cosplay. Her followers not only admired her artistic talent, but also empathized with her challenging life story. Anastasia began to realize the power of sharing her personal story and connecting with others through social media. At 19, Anastasia decided to move back to St. Petersburg to pursue her career more seriously. This was a bold decision, as it meant leaving her grandmother, the only person who truly understood and loved her. However, she knew that to advance her career, she needed to be in a larger city with more opportunities. She worked at a well-known tattoo studio, rented her own apartment, and adopted the artist's name Gishman, which sounded more modern and memorable. Living independently in a big city was a major challenge, but it also gave her a sense of freedom and control over her life that she had never had before. She even auditioned for a reality TV show similar to Bad Girls Club, hoping to gain wider recognition. However, she was eliminated for not fitting the show's desired tough image, though a failure. The experience taught her valuable lessons about the entertainment industry. By 2019, at 23, Anastasia had become a recognized tattoo artist in the St. Petersburg community. She not only tattooed, but also taught web design courses, leveraging the technical skills she had learned. Her income stabilized, and she began sending money to her grandmother. When she joined TikTok, her following exploded dramatically. Her videos about tattooing, cosplay, and daily life garnered millions of views. Her goal was to reach 1 million followers, and she believed it was entirely achievable with her talent and hard work. However, her encounter with Dimmitri would completely alter the trajectory of her career in ways she could never have imagined. Dimmitri Kamlovski was born on February 15, 1998, in Moscow, also in a broken family. His mother died early, and his father remarried a woman who showed little affection for her stepson. This created in Dimmitri a reserved, shy personality and a deep desire for acceptance, unlike Anastasia, who channeled her pain into art and boldness. Dimmitri developed a twisted, unhealthy obsession with death in his teenage years. He often posted on social media about music and poetry, but also shared strange musings about life and death. His writing was clumsy and peculiar. Most concerning was Dimitri's habit of wandering cemeteries and imagining the lives of young women whose names appeared on tombstones. This was a sign of an unhealthy psyche, with an obsession with death and women. He also shared tattoo designs featuring cars and Japanese kanji, along with detailed descriptions of his ideal partner's appearance and age. In high school, Dimmitri was in a long-term relationship with Margarita, a girl who shared his views, empathized with him, and always supported him. In 2017, they moved to St. Petersburg together, with Margarita handling all the logistics of the move and renting an apartment. Dimmitri worked freelance in web design, programming, and car repair. Notably, the couple began producing adult content, with Margarita as his on-screen partner. However, Dimmitri controlled most of the money and financial decisions, showing a controlling tendency in their relationship. In 2020, he bought a Mercedes-Benz and flaunted it on social media, indicating a decent income from this venture. However, Dimmitri had 2 prior convictions theft before moving and evading military service, which barred him from leaving the country. These incidents highlighted his irresponsible nature and tendency to break the law. Anastasia and Dimmitri met through Margarita, When Margarita visited the tattoo studio and became friends with Anastasia, she introduced her boyfriend for a tattoo session. This was the moment fate brought together two people with shared childhood pain. During their first tattoo session, Dimmitri and Anastasia discovered they had much in common. Both came from broken families, lacked love, were passionate about tattoos, anime, and cars, and shared a desire for fame. These similarities created a deep connection, making them feel like they had found their soulmate. Their relationship quickly evolved from friendship to romance, but they had to keep it secret because Dimmitri was still in a nearly 5-year relationship with Margarita. This marked the beginning of a complex and dramatic love triangle. When Margarita discovered the secret affair, she tried to persuade Dimmitri to end it. However, he made empty promises and continued seeing Anastasia. To prove his love, Dimmitri bought Anastasia an expensive car, which sparked jealousy and anger in Margarita, who vandalized the car and threatened self-harm. Ultimately, Dimmitri left Margarita and moved in with Anastasia. He not only became her boyfriend, but also appointed himself as her social media, content, and course manager. This marked the start of Dimmitri's gradual control and exploitation of Anastasia. Dimmitri convinced Anastasia to produce adult content, promising it would make her more famous and wealthy. Blinded by trust in her boyfriend, Anastasia agreed, completely shifting her career. While her following continued to grow, it came at the cost of her image and mental health. Dimmitri often called Anastasia his muse and gave her extravagant presents. In reality, Anastasia bore the financial and emotional costs of their lavish lifestyle. In early 2022, Anastasia appeared on the talk show Beyond the Line to share her life story. However, the show exploited her past excessively, turning it into televised drama rather than a sincere conversation. Her mother, Elena, made a surprise appearance on the show, emotional and critical of Anastasia's involvement in adult content. She blamed Dimmitri for leading her daughter astray. However, Anastasia defended her boyfriend, calling adult content modern art and even challenging the show's experts. Margarita also appeared, discussing her past relationship and accusing Dimmitri of exploiting Anastasia's fame. She described him as emotionally and physically abusive. Strangely, Elena dismissed concerns about Dimmitri, viewing him as harmless. When Dimmitri appeared on stage, he seemed awkward and uncomfortable. The audience found it odd that two women were fighting over a man who appeared so ordinary in both appearance and personality. After the show, cracks began to form in Anastasia and Dimmitri's relationship. Dimmitri quit his tech job and lived entirely off Anastasia's income. He increasingly pressured her to produce more explicit content, turning her from a respected tattoo artist into a tool for profit. Anastasia began to feel trapped and exhausted. She realized she was being exploited and controlled rather than genuinely loved. Finally, she decided to end the relationship and planned to immigrate to South Korea to open a tattoo studio. She began researching legal procedures and selling her belongings to prepare for the move. By late July 2022, Anastasia convinced Dimmitri to move out. Rumors circulated that she had a new boyfriend, a blogger named Carol Keeson, which infuriated and jealousized Dimmitri. On July 31st, 2022, Anastasia had a joyful date with Carol Kedson, a blogger she met through social media. It was possibly the first time in months that Anastasia felt truly happy and free. Carol was young, energetic, and, most importantly, respected Anastasia as an artist rather than a mere entertainment object. Their date was relaxed and cheerful. They discussed art, her future plans in South Korea, and the dreams she had before meeting Dimmitri. Carol listened sincerely and didn't pressure her to do anything against her will. However, after the date, Anastasia abruptly sent a message ending the meeting and stopped responding to calls. This was unusual, as just hours earlier, she had been happy and excited. Carol tried to contact her but received no response, leaving him worried and confused. This was the last time anyone heard Anastasia's voice. When Anastasia returned home, she found Dimmitri waiting in her apartment, despite being asked to move out. He still had a key and used it to enter without permission. This demonstrated his disregard for her personal boundaries and his inability to let go of control. Dimmitri noticed the carefully packed suitcases. He realized Anastasia was serious about her immigration plans and not just making empty threats. More importantly, he sensed a change in how she looked at him, a look no longer filled with blind love. When he asked about her date with Carol, Anastasia didn't deny it. She even said she had found someone who truly understood and respected her. This triggered intense rage and jealousy in Dimmitri. For Dimmitri, Anastasia's new relationship was not just betrayal but a threat to his ego. He had spent years building an image of being the only one who could understand and love her. Her finding love elsewhere proved he wasn't as irreplaceable as he thought. A heated argument erupted, more intense than any they'd had before. Dimmitri accused Anastasia of betrayal and ingratitude, claiming she owed him her fame and wealth. For the first time, Anastasia fought back fiercely. She said she had built everything herself, and he was merely exploiting her. She accused him of turning her from a respected artist into a money-making object. Most significantly, Anastasia said she regretted trusting him and letting him control her life. She credited Carol with helping her realize her true worth, not through exploiting her body, but through her artistic talent. These words struck at Dimitri's deepest insecurities. He couldn't accept being seen as an exploiter, especially by Anastasia, whom he believed owed him everything. According to Dimitri's testimony, he lost control upon hearing her accusations. However, based on the crime scene and forensic evidence, the act was not impulsive, but calculated. He grabbed a knife from the kitchen and stabbed Anastasia multiple times in the chest and neck. The wounds targeted vital areas, indicating an intent to kill rather than intimidate. Anastasia tried to flee but couldn't escape her own apartment. Forensic evidence suggests Anastasia survived briefly after the initial attack. She tried to call for help, but Dimmitri prevented her. Her final moments were filled with terror and despair. The 26-year-old, with so many dreams for a bright future, died in the apartment where she had spent her final years building her career and seeking happiness. Afterward, Dimmitri embarked on a chilling cover-up, revealing his cold-blooded nature. Instead of calling the police or paramedics, he decided to hide Anastasia's death and create the illusion that she was still alive. Starting that night, he began impersonating her on social media, posting updates and responding to messages in her style to avoid suspicion. He also used her phone to send messages to friends and family, saying she needed time alone and didn't want to be disturbed. This bought him time to conceal the crime. He dragged her body into the bathtub and began a bizarre and terrifying cover-up campaign. In the following days, Dimmitri returned to the apartment multiple times to mask the smell of decomposition. He sealed vents, taped gaps, and even sprayed perfume on the body. These actions revealed his chilling calculation. On August 2, 2022, a friend of Anastasia encountered Dimmitri at a social event with a chillingly cold demeanor. He said Anastasia had asked him to help her go away, and he had done so. The friend initially didn't believe him and waited a week, hoping Anastasia would contact them. But by August 9, 2022, unable to wait any longer, the friend reported her missing to the police. When police broke into the apartment, they faced a horrific scene. The apartment was in chaos, with half-packed suitcases, a soaked bed, and Anastasia's severely decomposed body in the bathroom after over a week. Dimmitri was arrested the next day and became the prime suspect in the murder case. On January the 22nd, 2023, Dimmitri Kamlovski officially pleaded guilty to murder. However, he insisted that Anastasia had asked him to end her life. Despite all evidence pointing to the contrary, the trial was lengthy, and in January 2024, Dimmitri was sentenced to 8 years in strict regime prison. Many felt this sentence was too lenient, given the brutal and calculated nature of the crime. Perhaps the saddest aftermath was that after Anastasia's death, her mother, Elena, allowed her daughter's funeral to be filmed for a fee. This action was harshly criticized by Anastasia's grandmother, the only person who truly loved her, for exploiting her granddaughter's death. The case of Anastasia Grishman is not just about an influencer killed by her ex-boyfriend, but a profound lesson about the dark side of fame and social media. Anastasia, a talented girl with a longing for love and recognition, became a victim of the very things she sought. Dimmitri represents a dangerous type in the social media era. Those who exploit others' psychological vulnerabilities and desire for fame to satisfy their own sick need for control. He didn't love Anastasia. He saw her as a tool to fulfill his ambitions and possessive instincts. This story also highlights the dangers of seeking love and acceptance through fame. Anastasia sacrificed too much from her personal image to mental health, just to maintain a toxic relationship with someone unworthy. Ultimately, this case serves as a reminder to recognize the signs of toxic and abusive relationships. People like Dimmitri often appear harmless, but harbor dangerous, unhealthy tendencies beneath the surface. Anastasia Grishman died at 26, with so many dreams left unfulfilled. The girl who once craved love and fame became a victim of the very things she sought. Her story will forever be a warning about the pitfalls of fame and blind love in the age of social media.